Not you done scared him off. I hope I haven't scared him off. I hope not. I just posted the link to the YouTube link because I think I do want to have this conversation. Somebody just joined me on YouTube. Can you hear me? Academic on to the next. I really wanted to talk to this person, but yes, on to the next because I mean, what am I gonna do? They ain't want to talk to me. I got one person that's on YouTube with me. I can't hear you though. I don't know if you talking or not. He ain't got no camera on either. And then I got all these people on Instagram. I really do. I really do want to know. Like, what is your? I know. On to the next is great to say, but like, what do you say when somebody stands you up? Like, what are you telling yourself? Are y'all just strong like that just cause? Cause I really do. My ego be hurt a little bit when somebody tells me that. When somebody just still stands me up. My ego really do be hurt. I'll put y'all right there. Y'all see I'm on maybe I'll turn this into an episode of the podcast. Maybe I'll turn it into an episode of the podcast. Let me do my intro. What up though? Jay the Gentleman here. That's at JAI the Gentleman on IG. And this is another episode of Dear Black Gay Men Podcast, a short, bullshit free step out of our comfort zone to talk about all the emotional ups and downs along the journey to happiness. Hopefully, this is our weekly reminder of how dope it is to be black gay men who love black gay men. I am Jay the Gentleman. This is Dear Black Gay Men Podcast. Now let's get into the show. Candid Conversations is on YouTube telling me, asking what's the subject matter. I will tell you, Candid Conversations. So, this is what happened. I had someone scheduled to talk to me today. Normally Tuesdays, I'm on live on IG, I'm on live on YouTube, and normally Tuesdays, I do Dear Black Gay Men podcast, Dear Black Gay Men live, where I'm having real conversations with real people. Now, the gotcha is I put a lot of fucking work into this show. Like, I gotta approve graphics. I gotta make sure that everything looks good on the screen. I gotta make sure, we have something to talk about. I gotta get B-roll together. It's a whole thing. Just like dates. Like, to me, every time I get on here, it's as if I'm having a date with somebody. And when I got stood up today, had a conversation with my best friend. My best friend said, "No, Jay, you didn't get stood up. He just didn't. He didn't understand how much work you put into this." But for anybody who does any kind of production work, it's a lot of fucking work to like get these cameras, get these lights, get this melanin popping like this, put on this. I'm glad like on the live over here, I got y'all or the live on Instagram, they can see like the bottom half of my body, and I'm just glad I have on something today because usually I'm ass naked on the bottom. But I think that is a common misconception in our culture that because you don't put effort into us connecting, then that means that I then don't put effort into it. I'll give you another example. Last night I was getting ready to entangle. I hope I'm not taking anybody too fast. But last night I was getting ready to entangle. And I did not want no dick that night. I wanted to not take no dick. And so I got on the apps and I went to, someone who was proximal, but, farther than I was willing to drive to him. And I fell asleep. And immediately I think this is karma biting me in the ass. I fell asleep because I didn't acknowledge or appreciate or respect all the preparation that this bottom put into entangling with me. He came over to my house, or he tried to come to my house. He tried to, so we could both have a good time. And sure as shit, it's 1:30 in the morning and I'm knocked out sleep. And I think that is what I'm learning. Y'all tell me in the comments. I see people over here. But what I'm learning is it's just it's like a different version of the same thing, of not acknowledging all the work, the preparation, the time, effort, and attention it takes to get to wherever you're going, to engage. That is exactly what inspired this podcast. Is somebody stood me up for a date because I really did put a lot of thought, effort, and attention behind creating that date. And he just was like, well, I'm not putting that much effort in, so clearly you can't. Same thing with me falling asleep last night. I'm learning that I am guilty of not respecting other people's time, but also it don't feel good. Cause just this morning at 1:30, I'm falling asleep on the bottom who was coming to my house, and then sure as shit, 8 o'clock comes around, and next thing you know, somebody standing me up. Candid conversation, yes, because to bottom, it's a whole process. I'd cuss you out, and I would sit there and I would take that cussing, cause quite honestly, it would probably turn me on just a little bit. Like getting my ass handed to me a little just does turn me on just a smidge, but it does. But I think the bigger lesson, candid conversations, and everybody on the IG, Sean Lore asked, did I apologize? Yes. Roll on Reloaded says I will be a guest on your show. The link is in, I pinned the link. Just type it in. You can join me right now. Pop up on the screen. Let's talk about it. But I think yes, I did apologize. Because I needed to apologize. I was in the wrong. But in addition to that, I wonder, like, how are we as a culture positioning ourselves to have successful relationships when even in these frivolous exchanges, we don't respect the other person's time? Like, how are we creating a space, in a heart space, that says you are valuable to me, if at the bottom of it we can't even respect each other's time? Because I know I ain't the only one who been stood up for a date. Let me know in the comments, when y'all ever been stood up, or am I the only one? Candid conversations, you been stood up? That's an excellent question. Are we giving what we want or expect? That's exactly what I'm curious. We aren't. Somebody on IG said we aren't serious at all. I'm really curious. How then do we expect to have a successful relationship? Someone who values our time, values our space, and the effort that we put into it, if in these small interactions we don't respect it. I hear a lot more of people. A lot more tops saying that bottoms take too long preparing. And I'm just like, it really sounds like you don't appreciate all the preparation that goes into it. Not granted enough, I'll be shitting on tops all the time because I think being a top is weird. But somebody said, honestly, it depends on the person and the interest. What do you mean, Sean Lord? What depends on the person? What depends on the interest? Hey, TJ. Well, we don't want to pain anybody. No, we don't. And I think that what I'm learning, what I'm walking myself through as we're talking through this candid conversations and everybody on the IG, is that I have to put more appreciation into other people's time, into other people's process, if I then am to expect them to value my time and value my process. I cannot expect a level of respect or awareness that I'm not willing to first give. And the funny thing is, I talked about that on the fucking podcast. The name of it was like, "He who has friends must show himself friendly." I talked about that. And I think that's why, like y'all, I'll tell y'all this, since we're just riffing here. I ain't got no script for this show, but I talked about this on the podcast about how I think of Oprah when I sit and do this show. Now I'm a lot more R-rated than Oprah. I ain't doing shows about spirit and being present and whatnot. Although I am a student of those things, that ain't the kind of show I'm doing. I do want to talk about sucking and fucking every once in a while. But one thing that she did do is she made sure that everybody knew that they mattered when they sat in that chair. And I really do want to make sure everybody knows that they matter when they sit across from me, when they're on the live stream. You, Candid Converse, Kyer, Sinoj, I think that's Eric Jones. Is it Eric Jones? Candid Conversations. Or somebody academic, many of us are selfish, which isn't a bad thing, but in order to be open to date, you have to move past the selfishness and be willing to include the other persons. I like that you said persons, academically ratchet. It's so interesting that sitting here with y'all, I'm processing this in real time, that I have to be able to give a level of respect, a level of attention that I want to receive first. I think that's like what they mean when they say treat others the way you want to be treated. I have to give the kind of treatment that I want first if I am to receive it. And also, karma is a bitch. Like, I fall asleep on one bottom who dushed for me, only to be stood up 16 hours later. Ain't that some shit? Ain't that about a bitch? Going on dates now, I make sure that I put out what to put in. Sean Lord, that's what Sean Lord said. What do you mean by that? Now, Sean, y'all don't know this. YouTube people don't know this, but Sean is saying in the comments that he says, going on dates now, I make sure that I put out what I put in. I think you're trying to say you give what you're trying to receive. But I think a lot of us in culture really do believe that you have to give the opposite of what you're trying to receive. Like if I'm a bottom, I think I got to give bottom energy and a top gives top energy. But what it sounds like we're saying in the comments on IG and on YouTube is we got to match energy. But is that what we actually do in real time? Like, is that what we do in culture? Do we ever match energy like that? And does that even work? Because every time I hear somebody talk about matching energy, about giving what they want to receive, it's a failed situation. Like matching energy. I've never heard anybody say that I matched energy and we got married. I ain't never heard that. I have never, not once ever heard anybody say that they matched their man's energy and that got us down the altar. Or we matched each other's energy and that got us where we want to go. Because I feel like matching is such a passive action. Matching energy is like saying, I want to be taken out, but I'm not going to take you out until you take me out. Is that what matching energy is to y'all? I'm not going to give until I receive. I'm not going to put forth more effort than I think you're willing to offer. But that don't sound good. Not to me. Candid Conversation said no on YouTube. He says, no, I'm not. That's not what you mean by matching that energy. What do you mean then? I just started doing it and has been a failure, but that's because the other guy wasn't capable of matching the energy I was willing to put out. Okay. That sounds like you got a problem with your picker. If you picking low vibrational motherfuckers, then we can't be then how we'll never be able to match energy then. Cause your high vibrations ain't never gonna stoop to their low vibration levels. TJ Prime or TJ, I love TJ. TJ says matching energy sounds exhausting. You know what I really think? Candid Conversation said, matching for me, I'm giving you the same level of respect you give me, the same time management you give me. When I hear that though, y'all hear me out, IG, YouTube land. When I hear that though, it just seems as if it's a very passive stance to take in a dating situation. I am going to peep the scene before I make a move. But when you peep the scene so long or for whatever reason before you make a move, you miss opportunities. You miss, like, if I see you and I like you, I'm going to go get you. That's not matching energy. That's the opposite of matching energy. That is giving energy. Right? Am I off? Like, I really want to know. Am I off base here? Because I ain't got no man. So, who knows if I'm right or not? One thing I will say, and today probably is not a great example of that, but one thing I talked to Hakeem Asadi. He's a therapist. I talked to him on this show, and he always talks about calling in your power, making sure that you are in a place of power in your own life. And I'm always so curious about gay men, because gay men will actively pursue a degree. Gay men will actively pursue a goal. We will actively pursue a job. We will actively pursue the car we want. We will actively pursue the apartment or the house we want. We will actively pursue being debt free. We will actively pursue a trip. We will actively pursue a whole bunch of things. And then when it comes to another gay man, we want to be passive. That don't compute to me. It is weird to me that we got so many doctors and lawyers and scholars and professors and teachers in our culture that are single. So much education in our culture that is emotionally unmatched. And what I think is happening is we are much more willing to put forth active energy, go get the thing that we want when that thing does not have the propensity to reject us. If, for instance, we can remove the idea of rejection from an equation, then we don't mind running this thing till the wheels fall off. But the second that we have the idea that rejection is possible, for some reason, we are debilitatingly paralyzed. And I think that is what keeps us single. I think that is what keeps us out of relationship. Sean says, like, for example, initially went on a date. I planned. Date went well. We still communicate, but there hasn't been talks of a second date. I asked if there will be another one. He said yes, but hasn't took the time to plan or give me a date. I had there was an episode of the podcast. Y'all know I have a podcast, right? Wednesdays, it's live on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify. I talked about that exact same example, Sean, with somebody that I went on a date with. I call him Ezekiel. That is exactly what happened. Went out on a date. I put my good things on, got my smell good together, had my cute jeans on that made my ass look fat, fat enough to touch, not fat enough to eat. I had, my cute shoes on. I wore some J's because J's make me feel like a piece of trade, even though I'm not trade. And then next thing you know, we had a great time. My rule of thumb is first date's on, this date was on me, next one is on you. Not on meaning you got to pay for it because I can pay for myself, but you got to plan it. That was in December. Candid Conversation says, I agree. That's rooted in fear. Fear keeps us single. I agree with all of this. I agree with all of this. I really just wanted to get that off my chest. Thank y'all for watching me bullshit on this live. Candid Conversations, Kyer. I hope I'm saying that right. I appreciate all the comments. Y'all do great things. I'm about to go live with my guest. Hopefully I have a guest in 15 minutes. So I will talk to everybody later. Join me in the Dear Black Gay Men Insiders Facebook group because I got a whole different conversation that hopefully he does show up. So hopefully. And I will talk to y'all later. Bye. Oh, how can I contact you? Huh. Jay the Gentleman. I'm Jay the Gentleman. I'm going to find you on YouTube, Kyer.